The price of an egg. Hello friends, today we are going to hear a very clever and fun story about a witty Tenali Raman. Come, let's step into the story. One bright morning in the royal court of Vijayanagar, King Krishnadevaraya sat proudly on his grand throne. The ministers, scholars and guards filled the hall, listening carefully to the king's words. Just then a proud-looking merchant entered the court, carrying the big basket covered with cloth. He bowed before the king and said, "Your Majesty, today I have brought you a rare treasure. If you buy this, your empire's fame will spread across the world." The king raised his eyebrows in surprise. "A rare treasure? What is it?" The merchant slowly lifted the cloth inside the basket with some very large eggs. "These," he announced proudly, "are not ordinary eggs. They belong to a rare and special bird. Each egg cost 10 gold coins." The king stared at the eggs in shock. "What? 10 gold coins for just one egg? The regular hen's egg costs only a few paisa. Why such a high price?" The merchant puffed up his chest and replied, "Because, Your Majesty, these are no common eggs. They are extraordinary. Owning that will bring great honor to your court." The courtiers looked at one another, doubtful and confused. At that moment, Tenali Raman stood up with a gentle smile. "My king, do not buy them just yet. Let us test whether the merchants speak the truth." The king leaned forward curiously. "A test? And how do we do that, Raman?" Tenali grinned. "Simple, Your Majesty. If these eggs are truly rare, then when they hatch, their chicks will be just as valuable. Let the merchant show us these birds tomorrow after they hatch." Hearing this, the merchant's face turned pale. He stammered, unable to reply, because in truth, he had no special birds and no rare eggs. He had only tried to trick the king with lies. The king burst into laughter. "God, remove this cheat from my court. There is no place here for liars who try to fool us." The embarrassed merchant ran away in shame. Everyone in the court applauded to Tenali Raman's wisdom. The king smiled warmly and said, "Raman, once again your cleverness has saved us from being cheated. Truly there is no one as wise as you." Tenali bowed humbly and replied, "My king, we must never believe someone's words at once. Only by thinking carefully can we tell the truth from lies." And so, with his quick wit, Tenali Raman once again protected the royal court from trickery. Friends, the lesson we learn from this story is this: never believe everything immediately. Always think before making a decision. Thank you, friends. We will meet again soon with another exciting story of Tenali Raman. Tenali Raman and the Bird Seller. Hello friends, welcome back to another clever and funny story from the land of Vijayanagar, featuring a witty and wisdom Tenali Raman. This story tells us how Tenali Raman saved King Krishnadevaraya from being tricked by a cunning bird seller, using his sharp intelligence and quick thinking. So sit back, relax and enjoy this tale filled with humor, wisdom and clever twist at the end. Long ago in the grand palace of Vijayanagar, King Krishnadevaraya was known for his intelligence, righteousness and love for unique and curious things. He loved rare treasures, beautiful jewels, fascinating animals, and birds that could sing sweet melodies. One morning, as the royal court was about to begin, a man dressed shiny, colorful clothes entered the palace. He was carrying a small golden cage covered with red silk cloth. The man bowed deeply before the king and said, "Your Majesty, I have brought a bird unlike any other in the world. This is no ordinary bird. It can talk and even predict the future." The courtiers gasped in astonishment. A bird that could tell the future? That sounded unbelievable. Even the king leaned forward curiously. "Is that true?" the king asked. "Can your bird really talk and predict what's going to happen?" The bird seller nodded. Yes, Your Majesty, this is rare mina found only in distant lands. It understands human speech and responds with great wisdom. But such a marvelous creature cannot be sold for small price. The king raised an eyebrow. What is your price then? He asked. The man pretended to think for a moment and then said dramatically, for such a range being, I asked 10,000 gold coins. The entire court murmured in shock. That was fortune. The king hesitated at that moment. Tenali Raman, who had been quietly observing everything, smiled to himself. He had seen many such tricks before, and something about the man's words didn't seem right. The king turned to him and asked, What do you think, Tenali? Should I buy this bird? Tenali bowed politely and replied, Your Majesty, a bird that can predict the future sounds fascinating indeed, but before spending 10,000 gold coins, perhaps we should test it first. The bird seller's expression changed slightly. Tested? Oh no, my lord, this bird is very shy. It only speaks when it trusts its master, he said nervously. Tenali smiled knowingly. I see. But if it can predict the future, it should already know whether it will be sold today or not, shouldn't it? The goat chuckled and the king laughed heartily. That's fair question. Go on. Ask your bird what's going to happen. The bird seller hesitated, but finally turned toward the cage. Oh wise bird, tell the great king by you today. The bird said nothing. It merely tilted its head and remained silent. Tenali pretended to be impressed. Very interesting. Perhaps it really is wise. Then he added with a grin, Your Majesty, if this bird can predict the future, it must also know how long it will live. Why don't we ask that? The bird seller froze. My lord, the bird does not answer such difficult questions, he stammered. Tenali smiled slyly. Then let's make it simple. Ask the bird if it will be still alive tomorrow. The seller's hand began to tremble. No, no, you can't do that. It has not even eaten it, he said, panicking. Tenali turned to the king and said calmly, Your Majesty, I think I have a way to test this bird's power. The king nodded. Go ahead, Tenali. Tenali turned to the gods. Please keep this bird safely. Separate room for a night. Tomorrow morning, if it is still alive, we will know its prediction was true. Otherwise, we will know it was all a fraud. The bird seller's eyes widened in fear. No, no, you can't do that. But it was too late. The gods had already taken the cage away. The next morning, when the king and Tenali went to check the bird, they found it lying motionless. In the cage, the king was shocked. It's dead, he exclaimed. Tenali smiled quietly. Yes, Your Majesty. The man must have feared that we would discover the truth, so he poisoned the bird before feeding last night. The king looked astonished. You mean he deceived us? Tenali nodded. Yes, my lord, the bird was ordinary. It was only the man's clever lies that made it seem special. The king shook his head, half angry and half amused. Once again, Tenali, your wisdom has saved me from being fooled. Tenali bowed humbly and said, Your Majesty, all that glitters is not gold. And not every chattering bird is a prophet. The court burst into laughter. And the king rewarded Tenali Raman with a bag of gold coins for his quick wit and loyalty. From that day on, the king always consulted Tenali Raman before making any big decision. And so the story of how Tenali Raman outsmarted the bird seller spread throughout the kingdom, reminding everyone that the true wisdom always lies beyond appearances.